Well, hello and welcome to the Mindful Medics podcast. I'm your host today, Dr. Leonaura Rhodes, and today I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Toni Liu, who is a nomadic cartoonist, family physician, ex-gynecologist, anti-tiger mom, sex educator, self-love and relationship coach, speaker, author, podcast owner, community leader, and advocate for mental health. She also specializes in intergenerational trauma, AAPI, LGBT+, and women's empowerment. She helps high achievers, neurodivergents, perfectionists, and people pleasers recover from harsh upbringings such as tiger parenting to create authentic, fully expressed lives of success on their own terms. So welcome, Dr. Toni Liu. So that was a bit of a mouthful, and it's such an impressive resume that you have, and I love you're like me, you're somebody who is constantly reinventing themselves and finding new ways to help people. So I'm really delighted to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much as well for inviting me. I'm really delighted to be here.
Yes, I'm looking forward to our conversation. So let's kick off. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your early life and what inspired you to pursue a career in medicine?
Sure. So I was born in China, Beijing, and immigrated at age 3 to the East Coast. And I would say I had pretty traditional Chinese or Asian tiger parents. They were very achievement focused. And I don't know if you know the stereotype, but many Asian families really push their children into becoming doctors, lawyers, engineers, or other stable jobs. And so I felt that pressure, unfortunately, and that did shape my decision. But I had always been drawn to human biology and science, but I also loved the arts. I truly was multi-passionate from a very young age. And I was truly torn between my childhood dream was always to be an artist or cartoonist, but I also loved science too. So I just thought, okay, maybe I'll try to do both. I'll be a doctor as my day job and can still be an artist in my time off. So that was how I got into it. And both my parents actually were doctors as well. So there was a lot of influence in my family.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I love that you embrace both, because I think a lot of children at some stage are forced to choose one or the other. I had a client who was a physician who felt that she was forced to give up her artistic passions and just pursue medicine. And I think that can be even more harmful when you're forced to give up part of yourself. So it's good to hear that you were allowed to pursue both.
Oh, I wasn't allowed. I secretly pursued both, but functionally, my family definitely did not encourage the art part at all. They just said, oh, you'll live out of a box. Go get a real job. Yes. And so I did set aside art, unfortunately, and lost myself for a while, especially with the demanding schedule of medical training for those 8+ years. But I'll get into that later, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, when you're in the midst of medical school and medical training, you have very little spare time to do much else. I don't think I knew many people during that period of my life that had any hobbies whatsoever. So I completely get that. So share with us your timeline of your career. Like I said, you have this fascinating resume, and there's obviously been a lot of twists and turns. So talk us through the timeline of what happened and when and why.
Absolutely. So first off, I actually did 2 specialties. I started off as a gynecologist because I found I was really passionate about social justice, women's equality, and I wanted to be able to serve women with the full spectrum of care. But I found myself really burning out by just the high intensity situations on the labor floor, doing women's surgeries. And I tried to, at that point, actually, I wanted to leave medicine altogether. I was so burnt out and had become that word depersonalizing patients and just hoping people wouldn't show up. It was really a dark time in my life. but I thought I came this far. Let me try a different specialty to see if that might be a better fit. And I had been drawn to preventative and integrative holistic medicine as well. So I thought family medicine might be a better fit. So I changed to that, tried that out. It was better, but it still didn't feel like it made my soul come alive. And I noticed I had lost my creativity for a while for art as well. And so I just thought, I don't want to have regrets. I want to actually pursue my childhood dreams and all of my dreams. So actually, when I finished my family medicine residency in late 2018, I quit medicine for a while to pursue art, I wanted to travel the world too as a nomad, digital nomad, working online, tried out travel blogging, tried out coaching, tried out creating online courses, wrote books. It really was a lovely time to experiment. And then I found myself not wanting to, I think recovering enough and then not wanting to leave medicine fully. So I integrated that back in a way that felt alive to me, like being able to do telehealth, being able to do more education in classes, and even creating patient handouts for people, and really, I think, combining everything. But it took a lot of experimentation to get to where I am now.
That's really fascinating. And when you were completely out of medicine, what did you miss most about it?
That's a great question. I think it was the human interaction and feeling like I could really make a big difference for people. I just missed talking to patients and being able to, I was interested in the women's health material. So being able to engage with that again was also lovely going back.
Yeah. And I love that it also inspired you to kind of create materials and things that would actually make the experience of somebody receiving care from you even better. I think that is a wonderful kind of side effect that you got from that time. I have to say, I've been out of medicine for 15 years now, and I had a period of time where I also took a break from coaching and was working as a medical writer, and there were parts of it that I loved, but like you said, I also missed working with people one-on-one. And with things like medical writing and blogging and all of that, you can reach a lot of people, but you don't actually experience the interaction. You don't get to kind of feel the energy of the person that you're helping and kind of witness the transformation happening. So I totally relate to how you missed it and what drove you to go back. How much medicine do you practice these days?
It varies because my license enables me mostly to only practice in the US. So since I'm traveling the world, it's just whenever I'm back in the US visiting family or friends or taking a break from international travel, then I pick up some medical work, whether it be some locum tenens work as a travel doctor or telemedicine contract work.
That's wonderful. So tell us, you mentioned a little bit about finding being a physician, being a medic is stressful and challenging at times. While you were in it, did you start to develop techniques and strategies that worked for you to relieve the stress, or was it not until you stepped back from medicine that you were able to kind of get those resources and those skills that you needed to help you with the stress?
Absolutely. I think I was always drawn to psychology and self-help and personal development books for a reason, because I was just looking for more ways on how to manage my stress. And I didn't realize I was employing a lot of mindfulness techniques, like just taking breaks and going out to bathe in the sun when I could, even in between patients, like just taking a few minutes for me to focus on my breath and just be present and let the thoughts float away to reset myself so that I could come back and be more efficient in working. And when I really struggled too with whether I could finish medical training or not, I also used a lot. I wrote a blog post about it. I would love to share the link with 8 tips about it, but just things like little psychological tips and tricks, like just remembering, like taking each day as it comes and remembering to not be so hard on myself when I made a wrong diagnosis or made a mistake. because it's about progress, not perfection. And how can I expect to be? Well, no one can ever be perfect anyway, but especially as a trainee, I'm still learning and learning to be gentle with myself. There were so many techniques I used. And I think connecting to the humanity again of patients really helped with that. I know so many people now get burned out because we're spending way more time charting in front of a screen than actually interacting with the patients. So I try to do a shared decision making almost. I would show the patient my screen sometimes and be like, hey, let's review your medical chart together, or let's send you a prescription together, or update this and that. Then I feel like it helps both ways. It helps me stay connected and have more human interaction. And it helps them to see that, hey, I'm not only spending 5 minutes with them in the room, I'm actually spending way more time, like 10, 20 extra minutes charting and really documenting and making sure their records are up to date. So little things like that, some that I found from books and some I just came up on my own. I do pride myself, I would say, on creative solutions, things from my artistic side.
Yeah, I've not heard of anybody using that technique of showing the patient the chart and using the actual chart as a way to work together as a team and come up with a solution that works for them. It's funny, I was thinking about coaching earlier on today, and the fact that, I'll often say to my clients, unlike when I was a physician, I'm not going to be prescriptive as a coach. Together, we are going to, review the problem, and we are going to collaborate to come up with a solution, which I think, is uncommon in medicine. It tends to be the physician taking on the role of the expert and telling the patient what to do. And then wondering why the patient doesn't actually follow the plan, because it turns out that when we are not involved with the plan, when we don't have a kind of sense of autonomy and ownership of the plan, we're much less likely to stick to it. So I love what you're doing. I think that's really smart. You've stumbled upon something that is quite wonderful there, and I'm sure it pays dividends for the patients, as well as making you feel more connected too.
Thank you. Yeah, I look back, I'd always been doing that from the beginning of my career, even though nobody taught me that. I think I've never really liked hierarchy. I think because I grew up with parents who were very prescriptive, saying, you must do this, this, just because I said so, because I'm wiser or have more years on my life. And I'm just like, no, that's not, I know myself and I know that's not what's best for me. And so I feel like I never want to take away that power and autonomy from the patients. So let's collaborate and come up with something together, side by side. It's not a top-down situation here.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting. There's statistics on even people taking their prescribed medication. It's extremely low, and there seems to be very little kind of change in the medical profession, kind of looking at why is that happening. People come to us asking for help, and then they don't take the medication that we prescribe for them, and it seems like we're kind of missing a really important step here, that we could drastically improve people's compliance with the treatment plan if they were more involved with it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. What is one piece of advice you wish you had received when you were starting your medical career?
So I actually wish I was told that there were other ways to help people or even be a healthcare provider than just a doctor. Yeah. I didn't know about physician's assistant or nurse practitioners even. I got into medical school from a combined program in high school. So I just always, which I had sort of applied to due to parental pressure, not thinking I would get in. And so after that, I just had tunnel vision and never considered other careers. But there are so many ways to help people. I think just knowing yourself, because I noticed I'm not someone who likes to be in a very hierarchical leadership role. I don't like being in the spotlight. I'm definitely more collaborative as part of a team. So I think probably one of those other roles would have suited my personality better. And it's not because I'm shying away from really taking ownership or leadership, but that's just who I am, and just knowing that there are other ways. And even being a coach, I didn't know that until much later. Or being a therapist, there are so many ways, and that there are pros and cons to it too. Because, for example, as a coach and therapist, you have a whole hour or more with a client, versus as a doctor, you can usually only get 15 minutes, at most 30. And you had mentioned with compliance, a lot of it is that we haven't really explored the root cause of what's causing the non-compliance. And if you're able to at least touch on that and bring awareness to that, then that can help the patient feel more motivated to take care of their health. And there's so much that I feel like medicine that I didn't know about. And yeah, and I just wish I had asked around more and shadowed different professions and different specialties more. And so that's actually what I told my sister, who's 12 years younger and in medical school now herself, to explore her options. There are other options out there.
Yes, and it's funny, Tony. I'm a lot older than you, and I have to say, I think when I graduated from medical school, there weren't as many options now, and for people in the medical profession today, we are blessed with so many different ways to help people, and professions that were not even imagined. I qualified 30 years ago. I mean, there are professions now that weren't even, thought up 30 years ago. And I think it is a wonderful thing. And I loved what you said. I often say to people, people often ask me, do you feel sad that you have left medicine? And Tony, you may know, but our viewers may not. I left because of a move to the States where I couldn't practice, and I could have retrained to be a physician in the US, although it takes 4 years. And at that stage in my life, that was going to be a very difficult proposition. And so what I say to people is, I've just found new ways of helping people, and I see that, some of the alternative ways of helping people can actually impact more people and have a more profound effect than being a physician who helps people one-on-one.
Absolutely.
So, Tony, tell us, what strategies do you employ in your life to deal with stress and pressure? And I know you're still doing some medical professional work. So how do you deal with stress today with all of this knowledge and wisdom that you've gained?
Yeah, I've expanded even more on my self-care repertoire. I dedicate at least an hour to my self-care now every day, starting the day off with intentional meditation and some journaling and being outside and getting regular exercise. I think these are strategies that most people know, but that they're simple but not easy to implement and make time for. And I just try to make sure I stick to them by getting accountability people. Like for exercise, I love going to play team sports. That always gets me out. And if it doubles up, I get to play sports outside, then that also, just whatever is efficient. Sometimes I do a little trick like, if I'm really crunched on time, I brush my teeth outside. So that's my little bit while doing some squats or marching in place. So you just get a little burst of everything, even when you are busy. But yeah, and just reminding myself, I do make the gratitude list every day as well. At least 5 things, big and small, and really elaborate on them. And also celebrate just what did I do this day or this week, because it's so easy for us to lose track of how far we've come because we're only focused on the next thing. And so just learning to really celebrate myself, which was very hard to do given my background, coming from a very critical family and even profession too. There wasn't much praise. There was just a lot of, here's where you still fall short and this is what you need to work on. And it's good to have that, but it's also good to have plenty of affirmation and encouragement and supportive nurturance as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I see that a lot with highly ambitious people, whether it being in the medical profession or in other professions. I've worked with a lot of lawyers. For some reason, I seem to get lawyers drawn to me. And, it's a similar profession to medicine in a way. You get very bright people going into the profession who are also extremely ambitious and hardworking and academic, etc. And while those qualities are wonderful, it often it can, if unchecked, become a form of self-sabotage, where you are so ambitious, so striving for the next level, that you fail to enjoy life and fail to take care of yourself. And you and I probably both end up working with a lot of those ambitious professionals who have let it go too far, and when they come to see a coach, they are at the point of wanting to leave, or they have burned out, or they're on the edge of burnout. And I think there is a sea change, and it's one of the kind of reasons for being of this podcast, is letting ambitious people, like people in the medical profession and the legal profession, know that you don't have to totally neglect yourself. You don't have to put your ambition and your desire to achieve and help people, and you don't have to push that to the level where you become a martyr.
Absolutely. Because then you'll become resentful, and that is worse for everyone. You can't really help people. And I have a drawing I made where you've probably seen it, but if you, instead of pouring yourself into other people's cups constantly, you learn to fill your own cup so much that you overflow into other people's cups. So you can give more when you take care of yourself. Yes. Like the oxygen masks in planes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, most people are not taught that. I do see a change in the culture occurring very, very slowly. People are starting to talk about these things more, about mental well-being and mental health and self-care. It is starting to kind of come onto the agenda a little bit more, which gives me hope, because I've said this many times on this podcast. We need good people to stay in the medical profession. We don't want the medical profession to just be left with, with people who are willing to sacrifice themselves. We want good, well-rounded people who have other interests and passions in life to remain in the medical profession. We need the healers still. So I love all of that. And I also, while you were talking, I was kind of reminded when I trained to be a neurofeedback therapist. So I did this therapy with special needs kids. And I remember struggling with a couple of autistic kids at one stage. And my supervisor said to me, "Have you taught them to meditate?" And I kind of looked at her and said, "But I'm a scientist. Why would I teach them to meditate?" And don't judge me too harshly. This was 15 years ago. So it's still quite a long time ago. And she said to me, go and check the research. And the research on mindfulness and meditation was just starting to emerge, showing that it helps with almost every medical condition that you can think of. And it also makes you feel better. It improves your brain health, all of these things. But like you were mentioning about, time outside, time in nature, sunlight, there's been a lot of research on the benefits of getting sunlight in your eyes in the morning recently. And I think for those of us in the scientific professions, that research really kind of helps reinforce the benefits of it. For me, I kind of needed to see the research to allow myself to invest time in those things. And I know there's probably a lot of other doctors like that as well.
Makes sense. Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's fantastic. So tell me, based on your experience in your career in medicine, and also from all of these other amazing things that you've done, what are the 3 top pieces of advice you wish everybody knew on how to stay healthy and live your best life?
Can I go back really quickly to what you said before on the achieving? I wanted to say I didn't know I didn't want to interrupt or jump in, but I think so many people also are putting off their happiness and living their life until they get certain milestones checked off. And they're always like, okay, once I get to this part, then I can finally relax. But then they're totally missing living in the moment and actually being present for all the good that is in their lives now. So
Yes.
I just wanted to, again, just say that that's part of mindfulness and brings you back, because there's always, even if you're in your lowest point, there's always something you can appreciate about your life.
I totally agree. Absolutely. And I think, I've been thinking a lot about this recently. I've been writing some advertising copy for a course that I have, and about the fact that many ambitious people delay really truly enjoying their life until retirement, or to some kind of, some like when, if they're parents, to when they become empty nesters and the kids have flown, then we'll do the travel, then we'll have fun, then we'll, enjoy seeing the world, or then we'll really, become ourselves. And I was listening to a great podcast with Dr. Vonda Wright, I think I've got her name right. And she said there's a fascinating thing, that the average age at which chronic illness sets in is 62 and a half. And it coincides with the average age for retirement. And so
crazy.
If we delay really, enjoying our lives and taking time to do the travel, to pursue our passions like art or whatever it is, we may find ourselves at the same time becoming ill and being unable to pursue them, and then having a ton of regret. Why did I not do this earlier? And that always breaks my heart a little bit when I hear people regretting not enjoying their life as they went along.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. And I think someone did a study, a palliative care nurse did the study of the top 5 regrets of the dying. And a lot of it is related to that too. They wish they hadn't worked so hard. They wish that they had allowed themselves to enjoy life and pour more into their relationships and the things that really matter. And now I think it's great that we have more options, because working online while traveling, it was never a thing 30 years ago. But now that you can, I love that more people are taking advantage of that. The digital nomads, I think they say there's going to be maybe 1 billion by 2030 projected. So more people are really living life differently. It's not and it was just arbitrarily set by the Industrial Revolution. Somebody decided, 40 hours work week, work 9 to 5 until 65. But that's not how we humans, we're built for more balance in our lives than that. We're not productive machines here. It's good to have a life purpose and contribute to the world, but we also, so many other parts of us need to be tended to as well.
I completely agree. And I think for a lot of people, COVID was a bit of a wake-up call for that. People were kind of forced to work from home for several months, and realized, I can be just as productive in my job, and maybe even be more productive, and spend time with my loved ones. Go out and exercise in the morning, or go out at lunchtime and exercise, and do more things that are meaningful to me, rather than just, slogging for eight hours a day. And I live pretty close to New York, and there's a lot of people that prior to COVID were commuting sometimes 2 hours each way. And that's not much of a life. And I think so many people began to question, do we really have to go back to that old way of doing things? And I think there's definitely some blessings that have come from that.
Definitely. And I hope not. I hope we'll keep evolving and adjusting to newer, healthier ways of being. I guess that's related to one of my tips. My tip was just, always take some time for yourself every day, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. Yeah. And whatever that looks like for you, that you find most nourishing, getting outside, just clearing your mind. I found that before I got into mindfulness more, it was really hard for me to turn my thoughts off. And so I found that I got into a flow state when I was exercising, and I just thought, okay, that's my meditative state. You don't have to meditate in the classic way that other people do. Just find your own self-care practice. And I know there's been different research studies about the optimal time of working versus taking breaks. I think one of them said work for 52 minutes, rest for 17. And another one said work for 25 and rest for 5. And I know not all of us have the luxury of doing that, but I would say maybe every 2 hours, at least give yourself 5 minutes. Just get up, move around, do some stretches at your desk even. Or if you're moving around seeing patients, you get that movement built in. But really finding that, again, just like remembering you need to take care of yourself, and don't see it as wasting time resting, because you'll actually be more efficient when you get back to whatever you're doing, the tasks that you're doing.
You totally have to see it as an investment, don't you? And that you'll get a good return.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
I love that.
I would say tip number 2, and I've alluded to these before, but remaining connected to your humanity and like your life purpose and your why for why you're doing this. Because things will be hard no matter what profession you're in. Like discomfort, suffering is a part of the human existence. And I think the most resilient people can really know their values really well and be able to, even just for me, I have a little chart of here's my life purpose chart and here's my values tree, and I just put it over my desk and I look at it almost every day or set it as my phone wallpaper so that I remember it, because some days are hard for me, and it's when I'm doubting myself and feeling like I'm on the wrong path or questioning my life's mission. I'm like, no, this is why I'm here. And that always helps me ground back to myself and really connect with myself more, and connecting with others too. And as we talked about earlier, with other people and getting them, showing them we're all on the same side here. And that really provides more motivation, at least for me too. Maybe doesn't apply to everybody. It was hard to narrow it down to just 3 tips. I guess tip 2.5 was just, as I said before, celebrating yourself regularly. Really just even document what you accomplished that day, or just what good things happen that day. And I think another way to tap into gratitude for me, I found, was just remembering so many people would love to be in my position. I know that so many people were trying to get into medical school, and it really, just remembering that, kind of zooming out and having that perspective really helped me even through the hardest times and the darkest days too. And okay, tip number 3 is, I would say that remember your boundaries, because you are not responsible for it all. Like, I'm in primary care now, and that's really tough because sometimes I overtake responsibility and I feel like, oh my gosh, or even as a coach too, I'm so attached to this person's outcomes, their health, them getting better, their results, whatever it is. And I forget that it's a co-creating, collaborative process. I can't be their parent, and they need to also do some steps themselves. And so just having some boundaries, remembering, oh, it's okay. I am me, they are them. And also, I know for work hours in primary care, patients can message us at any time, but we can set the boundaries of when we respond. So I try not to respond on weekends or after work hours. If it's an emergency, there's some exceptions there, but I generally try to protect my time off, so to make sure that I'm really off in those times. And I have not had to transfer a patient, but I know some people have, if they feel like this patient is being rude to them, or it's just not a good fit working together, or clients for coaches that I've heard. It's okay, because if it's worse to just keep at it and become increasingly more frustrated and resentful than to give them a chance to work with somebody who might be a better fit, be able to serve them more. It's not giving up on them. So just, I guess remembering that that you matter too, how you're feeling about it, and to not fall into being a martyr again, like before. But it's really tough to remember. And one more thing about this, not only can you transfer the patient or client, you can also transfer yourself. it's okay to transfer a profession, leave your profession, make a career change. I was 30 when I finally finished all of my medical training and tried to be an artist. So it's never too late. And as a reminder, so many other people, Colonel Sanders of KFC founded the KFC at age 65. So don't feel like it's ever too late for you. And it's okay to change. It doesn't mean that any of what you've already done was wasted. You'll keep your skills. So many skills are transferable, and it won't undo the good you've already done either. So just remembering that you have a right to change your mind, to honor yourself at all points of your journey, at any time and any age.
I love that so much. That really gives people permission to at least have a good think about whether there might be something out there that would suit them better. And I think for many of us, certainly when I was a young doctor, I remember when I took a break from medicine because both my kids were very sick, and my eldest son's doctor basically said, you have to take a break from work. And people were, it was such a difficult decision to make. And almost everybody that I told was like, but you're a doctor, you can't give up being a doctor. And it was like, but I can, and people were pretty incredulous about it. And I look back and it was totally the right thing to do. And I have no regrets about it, but it was an incredibly hard decision. Yeah. So thank you for giving people the courage and the permission to think about whether, something else might be more suitable for them.
Of course. And I'm sure you're helping more people, and even more in depth now that you've transitioned to all the things you're doing now. Yeah,
absolutely. Fantastic. So tell us, before we finish up, is there anything that you're working on right now that you'd like the audience to know about?
Oh, I'm always working on so many projects, but I would say the thing that feels most alive right now is my signature program now called Tame the Tiger, taming your inner critic and tiger, really getting a handle on your mental health, especially if you've come from a harsh parenting upbringing that taught you to be really hard on yourself and critical of yourself, such as tiger parenting. And also taking that to the next step of not only loving yourself, but also in your relationships to detox the tiger, or untiger your lens on how you view other people, and being able to love others unconditionally because you're able to meet your own needs. And it's good to still love and express, and you don't feel like you have to have other people meet your needs for your happiness. It's a bonus. So I'm going to be releasing a program hopefully soon about untigering in relationships, or just taming the tiger with others. So I'm really excited for that. Currently in my group program, a lot of people are healthcare providers. I seem to be attracting a lot who, and who had the family expectations, and figuring out how to honor your family and yourself too, because it was really hard on my family when I told them that I was transitioning and leaving. And that's been a whole journey that I didn't get to talk about, but maybe another time. Or people can go read my book, Why You No Doctor Anymore, on Amazon.
Yes, I love that title. Yes, absolutely. That is wonderful. And I would encourage everybody who's watching or listening to go and check out Dr. Toni's website. It is just packed full of information, and the bio at the beginning didn't really do credit to all of the amazing things that you've done. So please go and check it out, and check out her most recent course. So thank you, Dr. Toni Liu, for joining me today. It has been an absolute pleasure. We could talk for hours or maybe even weeks, I'm sure. And I'd love to have you back on the show at some stage. So everyone, thank you for your time today. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Medics. And I wish you a very healthy, happy, abundant day. Bye-bye for now.